You're listening to the RM Podcast, the official podcast of Red Moon Productions. Here are your hosts, Brandon Davidson, Keith Cheatham, and Sean Sebastian. Enjoy.
Another episode of the Red Moon Podcast, because we're celebrating Independence Day. Happy 4th of July, everybody out there. And I hope you all are enjoying this great weather that we have here, well, at least in Kentucky. Maybe it's, I don't know, storming wherever you are. That's what we just had roll through. But you know what? That ain't going to stop the fireworks. It's a little humid. Get a little sunny out there. I got my shades on, ready to hit the beach. Nowhere near a beach. But you know what? We're coming on here to bring you what we promised, because obviously Keith and Sean are not here this week. I'm going to be leaving the studio right after this to go enjoy some festivities. So we decided to come on here, record a little intro for our review, because we promised last week we're bringing you our official review of, yes, none other than Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. So we're not going to have any opinions this week, obviously. We're not going to do a deep dive and discuss it, but we'll be back next week with a little bit of that discussion. So, of course, I hope you're just ready to kick back, enjoy the fireworks. Hopefully you and your family are enjoying some great food, hot dogs and hamburgers, and, of course, celebrating this beautiful, wonderful country that we all live in. I am one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, and, of course, the others will be back next week. We want to shout out, of course, all of our social right there at the bottom of the screen. Like, share, subscribe. Give us all some love on this beautiful Independence Day. Red Moon Book, Red Moon Tweet, Red Moon Picks, and of course, search for Red Moon Productions on YouTube and Rumble. But we've got a big review, the big one on the block this week. We've got a huge movie that just came out. It's going to have 2 weeks in the theaters uncontested before Mission Impossible, which hits next week. We're going to be catching that. No, we're going to have to catch it on the other end of the other side of the show, because, of course, it comes out on Wednesday, and we have our shows on Tuesday night. We're probably going to try to do The Sound of Freedom for this upcoming episode we've got. So now that I've got a few little housekeeping items that are taken care of, let's get into none other than our review of, yes, here is our review of Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
Let no stone be unturned, no scrap of nostalgia unbled. What's old must be made new, and most importantly, never ever learn from the past. Yes, it seems this has been Hollywood's motto for some time, and most egregiously Disney's. With Marvel bled dry, Pixar toppling, endless animated classics revived as live-action festering zombies, and Lucasfilm pilfered from Star Wars to the Dead on Arrival Willow series, Disney has done its best to plunder every scrap of IP, but one franchise remained buried. Luckily for them, a well-weathered archaeologist wasn't needed to get their grubby hands on Lucasfilm's last great IP, not wholly owned by Disney. Just money and lawyers, which Disney has in plenty. With a deal struck between Paramount and Disney, we now finally have a 5th Indiana Jones movie. But at this point, and after the debacle of Crystal Skull, do we really need geriatric Jones? With Spielberg taking a backseat as producer, this marks the only film in the series without him as director, and without George Lucas involved in any capacity. And while Disney and many will say this is a good thing, seeing as Lucas was the one who pushed heavily for Crystal Skull, we also see what has become of Star Wars without George Lucas. And can we really say Disney has done better? Instead, James Mangold has stepped up as director, based on his own story idea with a script from 4 writers. And what we receive is honestly a better made and less silly film than Crystal Skull for sure. But is it indie? Marketed as Harrison Ford's send-off to the role, the film brings back Nazis for Indy to fight, introduces a before-unknown goddaughter, does away with Mutt in a way that some may enjoy and others will chastise, and resets the now 70-year-old character back to a character similar to the first movie, but much more broken. with the promise that maybe this film's MacGuffin, Archimedes' dial, could alter time, thus fixing Indy's past mistakes. The movie does offer great homages to every past film, and it does take the time to not contradict the prior films, including Crystal Skull, or create plot holes in the series. We get some great moments from Ford as Indy, who's gotten too old for such adventures, though this in and of itself also creates other problems for the movie. This film does stick more to history and tries to honor Indy's love of history, but while not as overtly goofy as Crystal Skull, still manages to nuke the fridge a bit at the end. Overall, the movie is at its core better made than Crystal Skull, but doesn't really have anything to offer. Dial of Destiny plays things too safe, and feels like a film churned out by a mindless company looking to profit off nostalgia more than actually make a film that feels like a definitive end for Indiana Jones. Imagine that, Disney. Moments touch on past films' greatness, but generally only when those moments are in reference to the past films. This movie itself adds nothing new to the franchise, no deeper meaning to history or the lessons Indy has learned, and in fact undoes all of the character development he's had over the course of 4 films, just for the sake of making a quote-unquote classic Indiana Jones film that ultimately feels less classic and just cookie-cutter. Though undoing character growth for a cheap sequel is nothing new for Disney. Woody, Toy Story 4, Luke Skywalker, Last Jedi, Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness. Let's not go on. So instead of a final film that feels like the quintessential Indiana Jones, we get an okay movie about a 70-year-old man having one more adventure with nothing of great substance. Lackluster set pieces feel like generic knockoffs of the original movies, or otherwise feel mild so as to make it believable that Harrison Ford, who himself is 80, can still play an action role. Subtle emotional moments are thrown in, mostly for the sake of exposing Indiana as being broken, and why he hasn't lived out the happy ending Crystal Skull gave him. But these ultimately fall flat, only to bring him around to another happy ending he should have always had. I don't think Dial of Destiny is bad, but it's lackluster and made to please everyone, rather than truly give the character the send-off he deserves. The biggest indication of this is in the reshoots reported to have taken place, and with the amount of writers involved with the script. It seems to me they played with the story and test screenings until they knew they had the blandest version that would hit the nostalgia button enough to please hardcore fans and keep everyone else happy. Is it technically better than Crystal Skull? Sure, but I could argue that that film captures the spirit of Indiana Jones better than Dial of Destiny. At least this one didn't end by launching a UFO into space. Pick your poison, but I can summarize this film best with a quote from Indiana Jones himself. I don't know, I'm just making this up as I go. I give Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny 2.5 out of 4 stars.
There you have it. Don't know what our rating is because I haven't seen it yet. We're still about maybe 2 hours away from seeing it. So we had to record this intro here to give you all the official review this week. But of course, I'm recording this long before I see the movie because, I got my shades on. I'm ready to enjoy the sunshine, enjoy some good food, family time, some fireworks. I'm just chomping at the bit to get out there. Well, yeah, we're going to go see this movie and then, enjoy our holiday weekend because that's what it's all about. Hope you all are out there enjoying it with your fam. I don't know why you're watching this live right now if you are. Well, we appreciate it. We appreciate all the love. Again, as always, like, share, subscribe. All of our social media icons right there at the bottom of the screen. Red Moon Book, Red Moon Tweet, Red Moon Picks, and of course, search for Red Moon Productions on YouTube and on Rumble. We appreciate all the love. Couple housekeeping notes real quick. Remember, next week we're back at our regularly scheduled time. That is 9 p.m. Eastern on all your favorite social media platforms. You can tune in live, comment. We appreciate all the love. Tell us what you think about Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Probably do a little bit of a deep dive on that next week, as well as our other movie that we're looking to review, which is The Sound of Freedom. We're hoping to catch that one before next week's show. And then we've got another big one on the block. It's probably going to dethrone Indiana Jones, even though it has 2 weeks. Indiana Jones has 2 weeks before it's uncontested. This one definitely is going to dethrone it. That's Mission Impossible. Part 1's coming out. We're going to enjoy that, and we're going to go see it at the theater right before we head down to the lake. Oh, I can't wait. Our lake trip, our big vacation for us guys, for Vanilla Steam and Mustard Love, because they'll be back next week to enjoy a live show. And, of course, we'll give you all the latest headlines and a review of Sound of Freedom. And, of course, just looking forward to some good old-fashioned love from all of our viewers out there. Thank you all so much for tuning in just for this brief little review. We hope to see you back next week. You saw the social. As always, you can email us if you want right there at the bottom of your screen. I'm not going to do nearly as good a job as Keith. But yes, that old-fashioned way of reaching out to people. rmpodcast at redmoonproductions.com. See, it doesn't have the same ring to it. Keith and Sean are just going to rib me about that. Alrighty, guys, thank you all so much for tuning in for this brief little review. And we'll see you next week live. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I'm one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside, of course, nobody else, because we'll be back with our regular live scheduled programming next week. Until then, I'm going to see y'all later because I'm going to go enjoy some hot dogs and hamburgers and some fireworks. Adios, guys. Enjoy the 4th. Celebrate this wonderful, lovely country.
We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. For more reviews, previous podcast shows, and everything Red Moon, visit our website, redmoonproductions.com. You can also like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter by searching for Red Moon Productions, LLC. We'll see you at the movies.